kind of maybe end it sooner. So what we're going to be doing in this session, which is finally looking at innovations in, and for you all, session would be, I would just set the context of what are the different topics we would be covering in this, and then each of my extremely esteemed panel members would speak a few minutes sharing their thoughts about their perspective about the kind of innovative work they're already doing. And after that, we would have a bit of discussion and we would also open it up to audience. So if you have any questions to share, I'm sure that you must be having several things in your mind. We would have some time for you all. Healthcare. Coming from Chakkara School of Health Sciences, which is not a medical school, but it is a healthcare institute which has a range of programs in healthcare. One of the first comments I would make is that today, whether you're taking your primary healthcare, are not yet in infrastructure in a short span of time, but getting the right human resource in healthcare in place is just not an overnight or even a short-term job. And I'm sure all of us would have heard examples of where the hospital is ready, the ICU is ready, but you know, the right people who should be running it required to get the things off the ground, the people are not yet in there required. And I think the statistics say something like the country needs another 60,000 doctors or more. And if you go into previous sessions, we're talking about super specialists. So if you go into categories, you would get a different set of numbers. But I think if you can just use a basic formula, which is for every doctor that is out there, this is about maybe 5 times the allied health workforce, and probably for every doctor there is maybe 2 to 3 healthcare managers, administrators that is required. So if this is coming out is just not there. So what kind of innovative practices are you doing? One, in terms of getting the students. Second, in terms of training. And already in the morning, Dr. Raj Bahadur had shared about innovations in assessment, in evaluations to make sure. And then in the previous discussion, there was also talk about different types of technology. Maybe it is apps, or maybe it is different kind of other technology.
Total healthcare education of the country is concerned. You very rightly said that how many doctors they are required for this country, and the policies they are made on that. The politicians of this country, they are considering that the population is 125 crore rupees, so the 125 crore people, so we should have as many as doctors possible. So the solution with the government is open more medical colleges. When we were students, probably there were around 120 colleges. By now it is 475 colleges existing in the country. In order to reach for more doctors to be produced, more number of these specialists in the society. I give you example of Department of Surgery of PGI. There are 56 students per year being admitted into the Department of Surgery in PGI. The issue remains is that whether the number of the consultants that are available in the department are able to cope up with the type of training program which PGI used to give it. I feel personally that it has dwindled significantly. So on one side, when we are looking at the quantity of to be produced to cope up with the number of the people they are required for the society, we are losing on the side of the quality, which is a matter of concern to me. This is absolutely a matter of concern to me. Let us not go on producing the people, as I have given in the morning the statistics, that this year in my country, a student with 20% marks means the 40 percentile has been admitted, which has never been happened. So we need to seize, and it has to be at the level of the policy. If you and me, while sitting here, cannot settle the issue because the politician at the top wish that we should have doctor's ratio of the patients and the doctor ratio should be equal to USA. That is our wishful thinking. Whether we are ready to do that at present or we have to do in a phased manner, but somehow this is the way it is moving as far as the doctors are concerned. Similarly, in my state of Punjab, the number of the nursing colleges, there are 109. The young they are collecting in the schools, medical schools, the nursing school is phenomenal. If you see the student being admitted and the whole nursing college, they are freezing the student and the product which would come at the end of the day would again, in terms of the quantity may be okay, but in terms of the quality will be absolutely poor. So, looking at the scenario of the health care, when we require numerous people in the health system, by producing a sub-level, substandard people into the medical education system, I think that would be a matter of concern for me.
Right, so you've touched upon, a big issue about lack of faculty and also about lack of how do we train for competence. So, would you like to share your thoughts, Professor Jennifer?
Good afternoon, everybody. I couldn't agree more to Dr. Raj Bahadur's sentiments and thoughts. He's very right, the standards of medical education, they have dwindled over the period of time. And there is a drastic need to change the system of education which we need to follow. And one of the reasons I feel is that we have been following the traditional education model, wherein we used to, you understand, you remember, and then you reproduce. Now we have an information system where you have a glut of information. So actually we need to produce those people who can sift out the right kind of information and apply them so that all through their life they are learners. And secondly, the system has to be changed. We need to give adequate teeth to the institutions so that they can have the quality improvement in the education system.
Good evening, everybody. I'm very much convinced with the comments given by Professor Raj Bahadur that there is a acute shortage of doctors. As comparison to doctors, there is a very, very acute shortage of paramedics also in this country. If we talk about paramedics, whosoever is taking 10+2 in medical side, he is only having a team of a doctor, MBBS, either BHMS, BMS, that's all. If he is not able to get the admission in these colleges, he is trying to opt BSc Part 1, BSc Part 2, BSc Part 3, and the basic knowledge he has taken, he has already, waste that knowledge. Instead of that, a lot of arts people are coming into the paramedics. They are more intent to get the lab technologists, more intent to get the extra technologists. So my request to the authority and policy maker like Professor Raj Bahadur is since so long in medical education, and we should provide the platform to the paramedics like lab technician, extra technician, OT technician. Similarly, as comparison to the nursing students and other paramedics, like we can increase their eligibility, like BSc +2 science we can do if we are unable to get the sufficient students on +2 PCB basis, so that if our Prime Minister is working on bridge course, so why not we? So we can add on a bridge course of biology for non-medical students to get the admission into the paramedics, into the lab technology, because innovation is like this. 20 years back or 15 years back, we were used to use calorimeter for the laboratory test. Now we have a cell counters are there, first semi-autolyzer were there, now fully autolyzers are there. There is the innovation in the medical field and medical education also. And similarly in X-ray technology, we were used to do the dark room X-rays. Now the CR system, digital and other systems are just improving. It's an innovation in the medical education. So my sincere request and appeal to the policymaker and to the authorities that at least more and more paramedics should come forward, and we send a message to the public that more and more students should get enrolled into the paramedics, so that we can little bit minimize the gap between the quality and the doctors and the paramedics.
Okay. So I think, we always recognize there will always be problems, but then what are the innovations we can do to kind of overcome it? So one of the things is, today we know that in medicine we want to practice evidence-based medicine. Now what does that mean? It translates into, in our education system, how are we applying evidence-based teaching? So when I hear Dr. Google, I think that's kind of, in one sense, if it's a patient, it's a layman doing that. I mean, that's, maybe it's not fully in our control, even though we do a lot of health awareness. But then those in the healthcare profession and all the students, because Google itself has segregated into something called Google Scholar. And we understand the value of a systematic review to base your decision versus, say, some other article which is just coming from an unknown source. So when we are teaching, one of the things that we do is we try to incorporate that evidence-based teaching, which means right in the beginning when we are teaching students, and then we know that they will be searching, but then we actually teach, well, what should be the literature that you should access, which you can rely on, which you can quote. Like, for example, if you are quoting something from the Cochrane database, or you are quoting something from the Campbell collaboration, which is related to, let's say if you are in healthcare and you're finding one of those articles, or a systematic review, I think that is nothing, but then how do we teach that? So that is one. We right now have a project going on, which is a combination of universities, that's the University of Hyderabad, Manipal and Chitkara, along with 3 universities in Europe, where we are trying to see how can we bring in this evidence-based teaching right from first year. Second is very rightly said by Dr. Bahadur, like, one, entry criteria for whatever said and done, 20% or whatever got in. So imagine at the exit, a person gets, if I'm using a grade or like you're saying percentage, let us assume 40% is pass mark. So somebody graduates out of a medical healthcare degree with a 40% mark and somebody does with an 80% or 90%. Now, is that acceptable? It's definitely not acceptable, especially when we are talking about competencies. So what is it we can do? So the idea is, when it is skill-based, like for example, Sir was talking about the allied health professional. So when you're taking lab technology or imaging or any of these operation theatre technology, dialysis technology, the technician group, we look at what is the competencies that person must have, and then how do we repeatedly teach that, along with the theory of course, but these are skill-based courses. So what is it? Is it a logbook that they have in place? Is it the rubrics that we have in place? So what are the different methods that we use to ensure that each of the student who is graduating has the competence required, the minimum competence to earn that degree? And luckily now the government has, under the allied health section, wherein earlier there was not even a standard curriculum for the country. And it may be, of course, it would be like very well known to you, but the course that is among all the courses in India, I feel the course which is extremely structured and they've managed to do it right in the Indian context, and where we can learn a lot from, is the chartered accountancy. Entire country, single entrance exam. Entire country, single syllabus. Entire country, single exit. And what is even more interesting is, if you have a reappear, in our scenario, the reappear is always on the old syllabus, whatever they had studied. But the chartered accountancy says it should be on the latest syllabus, because when that person gets out, they must know. So in India, there are a lot of examples where, even in education, maybe it is not the entire country, but CA, they have mandated continuous education, they have online education available. So the entire gamut of education as an ideal scenario, there are groups who have done it. So what is your thoughts? I mean, there must be so many centers of excellence, so many good success stories. So if you could share that, the innovations which are successful.
I think you are not from the medical background.
Yes, definitely. That is why I'm not personally.
Yes, yes. So those people who were sitting, those who have done their MBBS, the syllabus for MBBS throughout the country is same. The curriculum is same. The duration is same. The exam pattern at present is at the level of a university. But the government has decided that after the complete course, there has to be an exit exam as is being done in the Chartered Accountant. So it is already approved by the National Medical Commission that we should have an exit exam. The query was that after the university exam where the candidate has passed, whether this candidate appeared for the exit exam or not. So now the consensus is that let there not be two exams, let there be a final exit exam as we have an entry exam. So entry exam will be one, exit exam will be one, but my problem is that the medical education consists not only of theoretical experience or the theoretical knowledge, but it also has a practical examination. So for practical examination to be conducted at national level, it would be a mammoth task. I don't know how to conduct that, whether it can be OSCE for all these students, what can be the situation. Even the OSCE has not taken up so well in the at least the MD/MS courses. It is there existing in the National Board of Examination, but not in MD/MS courses. So to bring out a practical examination at the national level would be a mammoth task. Which examiner will go where, whether the external examiner from Kerala will come to this place, I don't know. But the most important thing, which was very important when we were students, was an internship program. We did our internship very seriously, but presently the students of medicine, they are spending their time making multiple choice questions memorized to appear for the PG entrance examination. So by bringing the exit exam, the advantage would be that since they have already done it, this is this merit which will qualify them for doing the post-graduation. So during the internship, they will be focusing on learning the skills. So the learning the skills in the medicine is during the internship, which is for 1 year. You do not learn the skill in the theoretical course. So 1 year, which was so important as the internship program in medicine, will become utilized if we have the exit exam at the national level, the final year exam at the exit exam, so that after that there is no stress of the candidate. He does the internship and then eventually comes out with something as a better person to go to the post-graduation.
As far as concerned about the right sciences, paramedical sciences, I would like also to ask about this, that these students should be attached with the bigger hospitals, bigger research institutes, so that they should be skilled in practical way also. And there will be also a similarly exit exam, or there will be some extra exam for these paramedical students also, so that we should get a skilled paramedical staff.
I would like to add something. Whatever Dr. Rajbhadra said, I totally agree with that. But I'll take 2 points out of your comments. One was the updation, that the knowledge has to be evaluated in the updated context. In CAs, when they reappear to the current curriculum. So that should be something which has to be incorporated, in medical education. There should be a continuous updation of the curriculum. Reason being, in last century the developments were not very fast. Now in last couple of decades, the developments have been so fast that it is difficult to keep pace with them. So and as practitioners, when we are trained on something in a setup, we are very comfortable doing it outside also. So it would be really imperative if we could provide the updated information and the technology in the institutes, and after that evaluate the candidates on that basis. So that correction needs to be done.
I think I think it was in the state of Gujarat where the entrance exam. talking about medical at all, sir. I'm talking more about whether it's healthcare management or it's about the allied health workforce. Because today what is happening is, people from 8th standard, people ask parents, relatives, what are you going to take? +2. Medical, non-medical, that's a standard question. And when people say medical, the assumption is for writing, like sir was also mentioning, it was for writing the entrance exam to become a doctor. So when they don't clear the NEET or they don't become the doctor and they join courses like which we are offering, MLT, MIT, or maybe some of the other courses, I think it takes like a semester to get them to feel you joined a good course. You're still in the healthcare profession. Because back home, neighbors all are still saying, why don't you give it one more shot to become? So for example, I was thinking when you were telling in the morning that there is the 6 lakh candidates who are applying, out of which a certain number cracks and they get absorbed into the medical. What if the entire spectrum of courses, ministry has listed about 50 allied health courses, besides the medical record technician and some of the other management technicians, the IT in healthcare, nursing, physiotherapy, optometry, there's such a range of courses. So a person who has studied physics, chemistry, PCB, they write a single entrance exam, which tests their +2, whatever, and obviously the student's aspiration is to be a medical doctor. But within that, if they kind of see the other courses, it would be a great awareness in the community that these are also healthcare courses. It is not just, this is just a point. So after Sir speaks, if any of you have a question, we'll quickly take that.
I'm going to seriously react on this question. The person who has appeared in PCB, he aims at becoming a doctor. I'm quoting my example. I did 10+2, could not enter into the medical school because the percentage was low. I did BSc, spent another 2 years, I was third in the graduation. So to demoralize the person, that okay, you cannot become a doctor and you have to become a technician, I think this is not a good proposition. He knows it. Don't you think that in 2018, the candidate who is doing his 10+2 doesn't know what are the courses available? They are available. They are aware of this. It could be in the rural area that the person may not be knowing, but in the cities, the students, they are aware that these are courses of the radio diagnosis, laboratory, all these courses, they are existing. I'm sure about this. The media is projecting day in and day out what are the courses available. The university, they are projecting what are the courses available. But the wish, the good wish of a person, if he wishes to become a medical doctor, I think if he tries second time, if he tries third time or fourth time, people they are appearing it again and again. Indeed, they are appearing it. So to check that person not to do this, I think this is a decision to be taken by the candidate as well as by the parents whether they can spare this time, because I am a successful model of a situation when I could not enter into the medical school and then after wasting 2 years, and today I consider that that was not the wasting. So I think in the medical profession, it remains in the bottom of the brain that if I wish to become a surgeon and I have become an anesthetist, it lingers throughout the life. It lingers throughout the life, and that complex remains. So I personally feel that a person should focus on the subject in which he wishes to become a specialist rather than it is by fluke that he enters into a profession. I have seen numerous doctors who wanted to be a surgeon and entered into a physician, who wanted to be a physician and entered into a surgeon. Because these are traits which are ingrained into the genes to become a surgeon or a physician or a psychiatrist. So I think the person should identify himself. The parents, they should identify what are the characteristics this man has. The teachers, they must identify what are the characteristics he possesses, whether he can do this or that. I think that's the feeling I have.
Perfectly said, sir. Qualification or the choice of specialty, it has to be very, very specific. I mean, if I were to go to proper, very good, you can change your life partner, but you cannot change your specialty after you have chosen it. So I totally agree with him.
think the point was that individuals have the choice, but give a spectrum of choice within the same thing. That was the point. So would anybody in the audience like to ask a question? Yes, Dr. Gill.
I'm Dr. Gill. I was Vice Chancellor of Goa Free University before Dr. Agada took over. There are two things that we need to understand. First of all, India is a very big country. One exam, central exam for whole of the country, very dangerous thing. So, we are opening many universities. The university has its own function. You cannot have a written curriculum, selected candidates, everybody teaching the same thing throughout India. Punjab is different from Goa for medical sciences. So the university should be given little more autonomy in their curriculum, in their method of selection, in their method of teaching. That is very, very important. Single test is very dangerous for me. And other thing is for entrance test, we have only one is recall. We will ask 100 questions, how many questions you will answer, that's all. So people are not reading in +1 and +2, they are only sitting in the academies. So they are being prepared for only recall, they are given the same tests every day. And ultimately they succeed, ultimately they don't know whether they want to become doctors or not. This is again very, very dangerous thing. And now we are spoiling the same thing in MBBS. That there will be one test, we will ask 100 questions to you, and then you will be qualified for post-graduation, for any job, and you will be number 1 and number 2. And this will spoil our MBBS course also. So we should be very clear. I think let the university will be independent. Baba Free University will be doing something there, and other universities they should be doing. There should be some basic guidelines only. Not too strict rules. Unless until you make people think differently, find out their own solutions, and our students will not be up to the mark. So be very careful. And other thing is, who is to devise the curriculum? Dr. Rajbhat is the Vice Chancellor. He is the chairman of all the committees, and still he feels that he is not empowered enough to change something. I think we have to, at least I could not find where the power lies, even after becoming Vice Chancellor. I want this answer properly.
So I think we have some young members in the audience, so as a rapid fire kind of advice to the upcoming professionals in the audience, what would be your advice?
They'll have to follow the chiasmatic model, wherein there is crisscross of development and knowledge. So they'll have to decipher the right kind of information, analyze it suitably, and then act accordingly. So my advice is to be reasonably knowledgeable and inquisitive and curious, so that developments can happen.
I learned from General Sparrow way back in 65, 66. He said, for all students, run the race of your life, keeping your eyes fixed on the goal. If you're fixing on the goal, you will be successful. I have no doubt on this. You fix the focus and then work hard on that.
As far as concerned about the medical education, I learned a lot from my practical experience as well as my life also. Medical knowledge never goes waste. It will come to your family, it will come to your near and dears. Go for medical education as maximum as possible. Thank you.
I would say that to the young students would be that, this particular profession, it comprises of a large number of professionals. It is a lot about teamwork again, respect each other, and have the ability to work together. Sir said, fix on the goal. I would say that fix on better healthcare. That's what all of us are trying to do in different ways, whether it's through healthcare management, or it's through physiotherapy, or it's through allied health, or definitely through the medical profession as well. And then India has always been a producer of a remarkable workforce, when somebody alluded to in the morning that so many countries would kind of just go down and we just pulled out all the Indians. And so the Indians who are working there are not just the doctors in the system, but definitely the nurses in the system, as well as the allied health workforce, and even the management. So I think there are many things that we feel proud about in the Indian healthcare education. And I hope several of you will be motivated to become great teachers, because that's a big shortage also that we have in taking forward the Indian healthcare. So with all that, I would really like to thank the panel members for sharing your thoughts. Thank you very much. And with that, we conclude.